little about.
Right.
If you're just tuning in, the guest is Adam Shepard, and the book is Scratch Beginnings. Essentially, it's the story of Adam's search for the American dream by starting out with absolutely nothing, 25 bucks to his name, took a train to Charleston, South Carolina, and said, hey, I'm going to make a go of it for 1 year and see if I can pull myself up by my bootstraps with 25 bucks starting out. And so what did you find out about some of, you touched on it just a moment ago, the life of some of these folks who are in that kind of dire situation, right, that you might not have known before, or that our viewers might not be aware of? What did you learn that we might not be aware of?
Well, I think it's interesting to analyze the attitude that I met, that I confronted. I met guys that made $30 a day and they spent it on beer and cigarettes and lottery tickets. And then I met guys that were making $30 a day and not eating out and not spending their money where they knew it wasn't going to be productive. And so to meet those guys that were saving their money, and then Derek, who ends up buying a house towards the end of the story here, I mean, there are two sides, and it's all based on the American dream, on the decisions that we make. And it was very, it wasn't a new perspective for me, but it was kind of refreshing to see that I wasn't the only one that had goals, or I wasn't the only one that was out there to discover the American dream.
So what about your experience at Merrimack kind of led you to this decision? Because it's a pretty well-to-do school, right?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, it's $150,000 education.
Business
I mean, it's
administration.
Right.
So you were thinking about financing and money and these kinds of things.
Well, that, and I was a resident advisor, and the resident director up there, Donna Swartout, she really, that's one of the things she focused on was, look at life from the other side, look at it from their perspective, and that's one of the things she emphasized. Can you empathize with them? And so that's what I figure. You can go and volunteer, and you can. All of these are great things, but to totally immerse yourself in that was fascinating to me, and that's why I decided to do this.
And you had done some volunteering at local soup kitchens, right, in Raleigh, so the platform was in place. You had seen the kinds of lives that were there, and you said, I want to investigate this a little bit further.
Exactly. And it is fun to do that, to do a little investigative reporting, but I think that again, that took a back seat to really meeting these guys and to really discover this. It was great.
So how has your sense of why some folks become homeless changed?
I think that, I don't want to say that it's not their fault, but I think that one of the things I discovered is that everybody kind of hits that roadblock. Some guys are 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless, and then one guy in here, he got hit by a car, a drunk driver who ended up driving off. Was it his fault that he was in a wheelchair? Well, I don't know. But to see him sitting there in that wheelchair with a great attitude, like, look, here I am. Life sucks, but I'm getting out. So to see him with that attitude, I mean, that's something I didn't imagine confronting in the homeless shelter. And so it brings a whole different idea and a whole different perspective to this book and to America.
So why do you think some people are able to make that change? They're there, they're in that situation, and yet you've got kind of, an assortment of people, right? I mean, you got
Absolutely.
people who have said, I've given up.
Right.
Why is it that some people are able to make that decision to say, hey, I'm not going to give up, even in this kind of situation. I'm going to fight through this and make it work?
My goodness, that's a tough question, and if I was a psychologist, I'd have a better answer. And if I had a better answer, I would, be a millionaire. I mean, because is there an answer? I don't know. It's just to look at some guys that are lazy and some guys that are like, no, I'm working hard, I'm going to get out. I don't know if there's a where or a why or a how, but it is there. And to see both sides and to have one guy inspiring another guy is pretty powerful. And that's what this story is all about.
Well, if you're just tuning in, I'm Stacey Cochran, the host of The Artist Craft, and the author that we're interviewing today is Adam Shepard. The book is Scratch Beginnings. We're going to begin a new segment here today as kind of an intermission for The Artist Craft called The Book Report. And basically the book report is going to be a book review of a novel or a nonfiction work that has been in the news lately. And we have a correspondent, Natasha Gilliam, who is going to be presenting the book report on The Kite Runner. So take it away, Natasha.
Okay, thank you, Stacey. What I have here is an international bestseller. It is entitled The Kite Runner, and it was written by Khalid Hosseini. So about the author, Khalid Hosseini was born in Kabul, Afghanistan in 1965. Due to the invasion of the Soviet Army, Khalid's family sought and was granted political asylum to the United States in 1980. In 1993, Khalid earned a medical degree from the University of Southern California, and he is now writing medical practice. Pretty amazing. The Kite Runner was published in 2003 and became an international bestseller in 2006. The Kite Runner is an interesting novel, to say the least. Its themes include ethnic tensions between the Hazara and the Pashtun in Afghanistan, the immigrant experiences of Amir's father, and the unknowing brotherhood of Amir and Hussan, who, although were raised in the same household, grew up in two totally different worlds. Now, the major characters of this novel are Amir, who is the protagonist, the son of Baba, and the childhood friend of Hussan. The story is mainly narrated by Amir. Another character, Ali, is a servant of Baba and initially thought to be the father of Hussan. Hussan is a childhood friend of Amir. Baba, the father of Amir, and is very respected in Afghanistan. Another important character is Rahihan. He is Baba's business partner and best friend. So the story begins in pre-Civil War Afghanistan. As children, Amir and Hussan spent a lot of time together. Hussan would always be the one to defend Amir. This upset Baba that he wanted Amir to be more like him, outspoken, into sports, and courageous, rather than meek, timid, and into literature like Amir was. Amir's constant need for approval from his father made me feel that the novel was more about the relationship between Amir and his father than it was between Amir and Hussan. So one day when Hussan and Amir were walking, they came across Hassef. Hassef wants to fight Amir, but Hussan threatens to shoot out Hassef's left eye. Hassef tells Amir that he will get his revenge, but Hassef gets his revenge on a day of kite fighting. Kite fighting is actually a cherished Afghan sport in Afghanistan, and children fly their kites and try to cut each other's. When a kite is cut, it's the kite runner's responsibility to catch the kite before it hits the ground. The last kite in the sky wins. Hussan is gifted, and he knows where a kite will land before it hits the ground. During the sport, Hassef brutally attacks him. Amir witnessed what was happening to Hussan, but stands by and watches. The close relationship between Hussan and Amir are never the same again. Hussan becomes emotionally downcast, and eventually Ali and Hussan leave the household of Amir and Baba. Later that year, the Russians invade Afghanistan, and Amir and Baba flee to Pakistan. They then come to California. Their life became a dramatic change after that. The two went from living in a luxury mansion to now living in a small apartment in Afghanistan. Baba begins working at a gas station. Years pass, and even though Amir is older, from time to time he thinks about Hussan. Amir has not forgotten about Hussan, so he decides to travel back to Afghanistan to bring Hussan back to the United States. Baba passes away, and Amir learns from Rahihan that Hussan is actually his half-brother. It's shocking. During Amir's journey to Kabul, Amir runs back into Hassef, who is now a member of the Taliban. Now, I don't want to give too much of the novel away. It's a very interesting novel with an unexpected ending. Plus, when you complete the novel, you can go and see the movie. Thank you.
All right, so The Kite Runner was the book, and it sounds like, you know, one of the things I've been curious about with it, Natasha, is why this book has taken off. And I think you did a great job explaining a little bit of that. It's very timely. I mean, Afghanistan is in the news all the time now. So, sounds like you highly recommend the book?
Yes, I do. I highly recommend it.
All right, thank you very much, Natasha Gilliam. So, if you're just tuning in, this is The Artist Craft. I'm your host, Stacey Cochran, and the guest today is Adam Shepard, author of Scratch Beginnings. So let's talk a little bit more about Scratch Beginnings. What would you say is the number one thing